Well, good morning, everybody. This is Troy Fullwood with the Thriving Investor and Commercial Note Profits webinar. Here it's Saturday morning on February 4th, 2017, and I've invited all you to this call, webinar, gathering, whatever you want to call it, I guess video or virtual breakfast. Hope you guys got your coffee. I got mine, or actually I did go with coffee this morning. I was going to go with tea, but did coffee instead. It's a little cold here, actually, believe it or not, here in Arizona. But want to welcome you to today's call. I want to try and keep this short and sweet and to the point. We have been getting just flooded with phone calls and emails about our new commercial note training. It's getting a lot of positive feedback and a lot of inquiries and questions about the training and when it's starting and things of that nature. And so what I wanted to do in the essence of time management and making sure everybody had a chance to get questions answered was to do this call, do a webinar this morning. And that way we can address anything you have to say in regards to the commercial note training that's coming up and that's being offered currently at this time. And then kind of give you guys a little insight to what 2017 is for us as well. And I'll go ahead and touch on that, and then we'll start bringing up some questions that people sent in. And that is, we're going to simplify our training systems. And we took the route for years of creating different training systems that ultimately would carve out or focus on a niche and give a very extensive overview of a niche within inside itself. And so, and it's been very successful for years. We decided in 2017 to combine those things into what I would call subject matters. And what Commercial Note Profits is all about is it's basically a 3-in-1, 4-in-1 training that touches on a multitude of niches inside of commercial notes. So if you're interested in commercial notes, which based on the hundreds, almost thousands of emails that we received last year about it, this is a perfect place to start, because we're going to be covering things like how to purchase commercial real estate with seller financing, how to put that together so that you have favorable terms and the seller will be accepting of your offer. And then we're going to get into how to find or flip or wholesale commercial notes as well. So if you're sitting here listening and you don't have thousands of dollars in the background to go out and buy commercial notes, and you do have to have money to buy commercial notes. You do have to have money to buy residential notes as well. Anybody that tells you otherwise is flat out lying to you about this business, and that's coming from somebody who's been in it for 20 years. But there are ways that you can get started in this business without having capital, okay, without having capital. And I understand one of the things I've learned over my years of education and speaking to a number of you is that everybody's starting from a different place and from a different position, but everybody's got equal opportunity. So it doesn't really matter where you're starting from, although it'll be different than the person standing next to you in any situation. But to identify what that is and then work with the resources that you have. So when I got started in the note business 20 years ago, I didn't have any money. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was spending every dime I had because I had a bunch of friends and we liked going out drinking and having fun and wasting our money. I didn't really understand the concept of investing at a high level. And so when I got started in the business, I would wholesale residential notes. Well, you can wholesale commercial notes as well, okay? So that's going to be a niche that we're going to be, or an aspect of the training that we're going to be talking about. And then we've got the other side of the training for those of you that want to purchase commercial notes, commercial non-performing notes, and even commercial performing notes that we've identified and lined up investors, large funds and stuff like that, that will bankroll your purchases. Now, their terms are different from lender to lender, but we've got well over a dozen of them, and they're very flexible, especially when you're buying notes at a discount. And when you're buying notes at a discount, it lowers your investment to value, which is exactly what the lender is focused on. It's not credit rated. You don't have to have great credit. You don't have to have a lot of things that you would under normal lending circumstances. So it presents and opens up an opportunity to have that in your back pocket as you build your note business or your commercial side of your note business, and having those resources and relationships readily available to you. So we're going to be discussing that as well. That's why we call it a 3-in-1 training. If you add the Bank Direct Connect software into it, it becomes a 4-in-1 training, which gives you direct access to the people that really have product. Now, if you've ever listened to me for any length of time, you can recall this statement. I hate broker chains. Hate them with a passion, because nothing ever comes of them. It's time and energy. Okay, I don't like them at all. I've never been successful in getting a deal closed with any more than one other person involved in 20 years of business, because people have a tendency of making up their own stories. Here's a perfect example. Last week, meaning about 10 days ago, actually, a gentleman contacted me, wanted to know if I was interested in a hotel that had been taken through receivership located in Chicago. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I do not like hotels. I'm not a hotel guy. Every hotel deal I've ever worked on has fallen flat on its face, and learned over the years I don't go down that road. Particular hotel kind of got my attention because it was at a substantial discount, and you couldn't build any more hotels in this area. So the location was great, the discount was great, and so what I later found out, or very quickly found out, was there were 8 people involved in the deal. 8 people. That's to start with. Number 2, when we did talk to we had our legal counsel talk directly to the seller, the property's not for sale. And that's number 2. Number 3 is any and all real estate transactions have to go through their real estate. They have an exclusive marketing agreement with a particular real estate group here in the U.S., Marcus & Millichap. So they're a very large commercial group. And Marcus & Millichap handles all of their real estate transactions. So they are their go-to, I guess, representative, as we would say in the business. The property was not for sale. The person who claimed to be, quote unquote, direct to the seller was not direct to the seller. He actually had to go through Marcus & Millichap. They're the ones that are direct to the seller, and ultimately burned up a couple of days. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I kind of took the bait. I got pulled down that road a little bit, but I was very quick to identify the issues surrounding it, and the gentleman that was, quote unquote, claiming he had exclusivity to the seller, and it was a flat out lie. So what we do is we take people like that, we put them on our, basically we red flag them, and we never do business with them again. At the end of the day, we threw that deal in the trash. Now, point being, and the reason for that example is there were a number of people involved in that deal. It was never going to happen. Even though people were moving out of the way, they seemed to be very flexible and, how do you say, manageable. He had misrepresented the entire deal from the very beginning. On the other hand, when I deal directly with people like Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, that I've cultivated relationships with over the years, I get a straight answer. I know exactly what their asking price is. I know exactly who their legal counsel is. I know exactly what they have in their files. They shoot straight because that's how they do business. Now, it doesn't mean we buy everything from them, because sometimes their asking price is above what anybody would pay. Sometimes they've got to hold on to assets for a little while before they start lowering the price, kind of like HUD does when they put homes out on the market. They put them out at a high price, and then the longer they sit, the lower they get. At the end of the day, when you're dealing with direct decision makers, your business is always going to grow. And you're going to go from win to win to win for business landscape. If you're wasting time going down what I call rabbit holes with various brokers, going to find yourself being very frustrated and giving up way before you get started, which is unnecessary, because financially the opportunity is ridiculous in the commercial space. As I've mentioned in some of my emails, we're seeing, depending on which number you look at, anywhere from about $7 to $11 billion worth of notes, NPNs, things of that nature that are coming on the market here in 2017, 18, and 19. How many billions you need to be successful in life, but for the fact that I've lived on less. And probably the same is true for most of you as well. A lot in order to accomplish financial goals and objectives. That, compared to the non-performing note space, so non-performing note space is about 400 and very large. I mean, there's a contrast between the two, but when you look at residential lending, it's a $10 trillion market space. So for them to have around 500 billion in non-performing loans is pretty consistent to that overall market space. In the commercial lending, traditional, what we call the banking industry, that's about a $2 trillion, about a $1.7 trillion. So to have 11 billion worth of non-performing notes is fairly consistent to percentages and averages in that market space as a whole. So I see that we've got a number of people on. We're about 10 minutes after the hour. Let me go ahead and pull up the slide here with some questions. And that way we can see here. Let me check something here. All right, so go ahead. Here we're calling this the Wealth Building Through Commercial Real Estate live Q&A Saturday morning breakfast with Troy. And here's some questions that were sent in to us yesterday. I know we did this as a short notice. I like doing that because the action takers will jump on the call or register for the call, and that's who we want to work with. We want to work with people that are taking action, who want to build their business in 2017. That's important to us. So number one, when will the training start? The training is going to start next Wednesday, which I believe is February 8th. Training will start on February 8th. So we got about 4 or 5 days here left to take advantage of the opportunity. if the training is missed, will you have another one? Are we going to do this again? We do not have it on the calendar for 2017. Okay. Although the training that we're doing is recorded and will be recorded and available to the students to, one, come and listen at their leisure. So if Wednesday does not work for you to be there, you can come back on Thursday and listen to the recordings and things of that nature. We're going to have a drop-down box where you can ask questions, and we'll be in there answering questions and supporting you. And then we'll be doing some other live Q&A calls as well. Maybe we'll do some more Saturday morning breakfast calls over the next 5 weeks that this training exists. So no, we don't have any other ones planned for 2017 at this point in time. So if you miss it, you miss it. Will your present How to Rob Banks Legally students get a discount? No. We have not been selling the How to Rob Banks training. We've not been promoting it for probably well over a year. All the new content that is going into this new training, the Commercial Note Pro, is all fresh, new 2017 contacts, deal structures, capital, the paperwork. Everything is completely updated for 2017. So the How to Rob Banks Legally, if you purchased it, I'm sure a number of you have capitalized on that education and you've gotten your return out of that, but there's no discount in moving forward. To buy deals from students. Absolutely. One of the things that we love about being in the educational space, which is about 10% of what we do on a daily basis or on an annual basis, is working directly with our students to purchase deals from them. The people often ask me, why do we do the commercial or the educational aspect to our business? And the biggest reason we do the educational aspect is because when we talk to people, there always seems to be a high level of interest in learning about the business, whether it's residential or commercial notes. So what I learned years ago to do was to put together trainings that cater to people and their desire to learn the business without me having to be on the phone an hour per day per person. If you think about it, if I spent, and that's usually what happens, somebody gets me on the phone and it's a 45-minute call about various questions that are ultimately inside of our trainings. The other thing that the trainings do is it accelerates a person's learning curve. So it speeds up the process through a series of systems, case studies, tools, resources, and capital to move their education along. Somebody who doesn't know about notes doesn't always know what the right questions are to ask. And we understand that. So we give an A to Z system, like in the residential space, teaching you how to do residential performing notes and residential non-performing notes. There's a whole system A to Z. Commercial, there's a whole system A to Z that'll be contained in the training completely out. So the beautiful thing about it is that's why we do the educational system. So when people want to invest and they want to learn the business, that they've got all the tools and resources in one system, that they're not being upsold into a bunch of other stuff at the end. Oh, by the way, you need this. And oh, by the way, you need that. Oh, by the way, you need this. We don't have 10,000 tools for you to buy afterwards because it's already in the training. Okay, does that make sense? I mean, it's kind of like when you go to college, there are certain things you need when you go to college. You need a computer. You need a books. You need the books. You need, paper, book, what do you call them? 3-ring binders, pens, pencils. You need those things. But once you have all those things, just going to class and learning the lessons, and then doing whatever homework or information or project that the teacher ask you to do. You get your full education from that. So we do the same thing. We just put it all in there. Like, okay, let's just put it all in there for people to have everything that they need to succeed. Here's the biggest reason why I do that in all of my trainings. Because the number one thing I want to do is see you succeed. I do not want to be the cause of your failure. I do not want to be the cause of why you didn't get something done. But I'm an extreme realist. So I've learned that giving people the right tools and resources to succeed now puts the responsibility on them. Okay? So it's not going to be my fault. It's not going to be your dog's fault, and it's not going to be your spouse's fault. It's not going to be the fault of your job. It's not going to be any of those things. It's going to be, how bad do you want it? When I got started in the business, guess how bad I wanted it? Bad enough where I quit my job and focused 100% on the business. Now, I don't recommend that to people, but that's what I had to do for me to put myself in a position to focus in on the business. And the business at that time, I didn't do commercial, I didn't do NPNs, I didn't do any of those things. I was just simply out finding performing first lien notes. That's what I did. That was my focus. That was my 100% focus. But the point being is the products contain, or the trainings contain, all the necessary tools. So let me go back to this question real quick. Are we able to buy deals from students? The simple answer is yes. Do we love buying deals from students? Absolutely. We're going to be coming out with a number of different case studies this year, actually over the next probably 6-8 weeks, of all the success stories of students that have taken our trainings and are out buying deals and things of that nature. And what's interesting about is a lot of them take it and they just start running with it. And we find that when they go dark on us, that's where they're succeeding, because they're just focused in on their business. They don't think to, chat and come back, and they've raised capital and they're buying their own deals and things like that. So we've been talking to a number of them and realizing that they've closed multiple deals time and time again. And because we didn't ask, they didn't tell. So we've now, like I was talking to one just the other day, he's like, well, and he was asking some questions, and I kind of went off on a tangent that was inconsistent to his success. He goes, well, Troy, I bought a deal in December, and it's booked with FCI, and I'm getting $600 a month cash flow. And I'm like, would you be willing to talk about that? And he's like, absolutely. So he's going to be featured in one of our up and coming case studies of the successes that we're seeing. So we're going to fill all 2017 up with this kind of insight for everybody. So, all right, let me keep focused here. It's Saturday morning. I want to get through this quickly. Are students expected to foster relationships to sell the deals to? Foster to me is kind of a long-term word. I haven't necessarily, to answer the question straight up, yes. If you want to grow your business, you're going to want to have a nice Rolodex of people that you can do business with, whether you're buying deals, whether you're wholesaling deals, or whether you're out to an end buyer. You want to have, a Rolodex and relationships with sellers. You want to have a Rolodex and relationships with buyers. And that's, if you're buying them for yourself and you're keeping them in the middle, you find a deal, and you're like, well, you know what? I want to keep this one. I'm going to go get the money from these guys over here, and I'm going to keep it. Wonderful. That's great. You'll only find those deals when you're moving product through your business. Okay? I probably look at, on a weekly basis, at least $10 million worth of deals in the residential space. Out of that, we buy around $1 million, $1.5 million a month in product. Because a lot of the product we see, either one is too high priced, or it's just so beat up that we really don't want to put our money on a deal of that nature. So we find deals that really fit our niche or our matrix that we're looking to constantly stay focused on. All right. So I would say, yes, you need to do those things. Is it difficult? No. Why? Because we're giving you who those people are in the training. Like, here's your sellers, here's your buyers. Do meet and greets, cultivate the relationships, let them know that you're there. Because the truth is, you can have the greatest business model in the world. You can have the greatest ice cream shop in the world. And you can build out the store and all that other stuff. And people won't come for your ice cream unless they know you're there. Even though people love ice cream, they won't go to you until they know that you exist. Just like sellers won't sell to you unless they know you exist. It's just the way it works. So keep that in mind. It's just part of being an entrepreneur. It's part of growing and building a business. So these are the questions that were sent to us. We got 5, and that's kind of expected with a short notice emails that we sent out just yesterday morning. In the comment box, you guys can list some more questions. So go ahead and list those questions, and I'm going to come back to those questions here in a little bit, and I want to cover some more stuff for you while you're posting those questions. All of you have probably seen the case study from Utah. It was a great little deal, little chiropractor's office that the chiropractor was moving out of, and the owner of the building was retiring the deal. He didn't want to remodel the deal and do a bunch of TIs and stuff because he'd been in the real estate space for well over 20 years and was actually up there in age as well. And his goals had changed, and he didn't want to do this anymore. So we ended up stepping in, buying the office. We bought it with seller financing. We came in, we agreed on his original price of $145. We didn't beat him up on pricing. We threw $25,000 down on the deal. I agreed to carry a seller first for $120, and we did a 5-year balloon on a 25-year AM at a 5% rate. Now, the monthly payment on that deal was $701 that I owe him per month. And then I went back in and met with the doctor. Actually, we never met face to face. We just did it via phone calls and emails, and discussed with him why he was moving out. Well, the reason he was moving out is he wanted his office, to be repainted. He had a few broken issues, new toilets, things like that. He really wanted it kind of freshened up for his patients and for his staff. And that was easy. Like, okay, paint and, clean the carpets and replace a couple rooms of carpets and a couple toilets and bathroom sinks and stuff. Okay, this is all easy stuff, all cosmetic. So we went in there and agreed to do those things, and he signed a new lease, square foot, which generated $1,300 a month. Involves a triple net lease for us, which also created 11 cap. And then after the upgrades and stuff were done on the building, we had it reappraised, and it reappraised at, so I picked up an extra 20 grand in equity, all by working with a seller who wanted to get out of the business, who'd been in it for a number of years. He was moving on to a different season in his life, and he was willing to carry back the note. And lo and behold, I put the money down. We created terms that were favorable for him, and away we went. So that's a seller carryback in commercial real estate. This one here is a non-performing loan. Commercial property is actually 2 buildings, sit on about an acre of land out of Georgia. First building was an office building, and the second building was a medical lab office building. And the current tenant operates a developmentally disabled daycare center. So what happened here was the bank, a small bank, regional bank in the area, wanted to sell the note because it was going to be maturing in June of 14. It originated in July of 07. The original sales price was $700,000. Now, keep in mind that was at the peak of the market. back in the day. They put down $75,000 on it, and the original note amount, carryback or loan amount, was $625,000. The bank had collected they collected 110 payments on it. And through the collection of 110 payments, when you apply that to the discount they took, they were still profitable. They didn't lose money, but they didn't make as much money as they wanted to. But even on mark-to-market accounting, what they call mark-to-market accounting, which is very common in the banking industry, the sales price of the note versus what the unpaid principal balance was also gets to be acknowledged as a loss in their tax accounting method. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they were able to take that loss, the current loss, and apply it to profits, which also saved them on taxation factors. The current UPB was $491. The value on it's $400,000, and that was their value that they came up with, which was easy because when a bank comes up with their own value and it's below the UPB, it's really not a hard sell. Guess what? They come up with values every day that are below the property unpaid principal balance, just like I do, just like anybody else in the business does. They're not immune to market changes. They're not immune to different variations in the marketplaces and spaces throughout the country. They have to overcome the same issues that I would or you would, being in the real estate investing arena. The original term on it was 300 months with a 120 balloon, 25, and their payment was $4,100 a month. I purchased it for $275, and because I was able to purchase it for $275, it lowered the value on it was $400,000. My investment to value on the thing was around 70%. That being the case, because my investment to value, what we call an as-is aspect to the trade, I was able to get financing on it for the full $275 at a 7% rate for 15 years. I did a 15-year term on it, although they were willing to do longer terms and things of that nature. I didn't necessarily want a longer term and a lower payment to create additional cash flow. And here's the reason why. Because I want the loan that I'm buying to match up with the loan that I'm getting. That way, the loan that I'm buying, when it exhausts itself, the loan that I got exhausts itself simultaneously. So if I go in there and this loan stops at 15 years, and this loan's got another 15 years to go, guess what? All the profit I just made over here, I now have to save it up, and I have to go put it over here. And this one, because it's longer, I'm still paying additional interest over here. Now, that goes against everything that every guru tells you out there. They tell you, get the long-term loan, keep the immediate cash flow, blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. That's a financial train wreck waiting to happen. The only difference is you don't see it for another 15 years. But telling you from experience, don't do those kinds of things. You want them to match up when you borrow money on capital. So if this had 30 years left, I would have done a loan for 30 years. If it had 20 years, I would have done a loan for 20 years. It just so happens that it had 15 years left. Okay, 300 months. It already paid 110. We put it at 15 years, actually 15 years and 10 months, but we actually will pay off this sooner than they'll pay us off over straightforward amortization. Okay. Now, if they refinance the property or they sell the property, obviously I'm going to get a lump sum and I'm going to be required to pay off the underlying loan on it, just like if you were selling a rental property and you borrowed money from Bank of America, their money. Okay, same thing happens here. My payment to the lender is $2,400. My income from the loan is $4,100. $1,651, which real simply is my mortgage payment on my house is a month. My car payment's about $500 a month. So that one payment covers our mortgage payment and it covers my wife's car payment. So I don't have to make a mortgage payment, and I don't have to make a car payment anymore. Study, this one property is doing that for an extended period of time, hopefully forever. That's this kind of, I don't take income and profit like this and turn around and go buy Lamborghinis and all that other stuff. One, I don't have a place to park them. Number two, I don't fit in them. Just too big for those kinds of cars. But number three is it's just not good financial sense. You know, as a father raising 4 boys, I'm looking at stuff like this to be going into college funds, paying down debt, so we're completely debt free. Those have been my goals. In big cigars and motor cars, been there, done that. It was an expensive e-ticket ride. Not doing it again. And I found that my circle of influence that have net worths of over 25 million or more is who I hang out with. Guess what? Time they go out and do loans and things like that is when they're forced into it for tax reasons. But for a limited period of and they'll change it up and they'll move on down the road. You should never be doing those things just because somebody said to do them. Not financially. Last but not least, case study here out of my hometown here, Phoenix, little office building here. Sold it. I did not buy it. He carried back the note on it, so he marketed it through his traditional marketing strategies. The value on it was $900,000. He sold it for $900,000. The buyer put down $180,000. I carried back a first lien note of $720,000. Simple rate of 6%, 25 years, and a payment amount of $4,600 a month. After he had done this, and the loan, and it was recorded, it was serviced by a servicing company here in the local area that I have a relationship with, and he wanted to sell it. He actually wanted to start another business, and he needed some cash and capital, and he knew that he could sell the note, but he didn't really know what that looked like. So because of my relationship with this local servicing company, they pointed him in my direction. I talked with him for a little bit to find out what his goal was, which was he needed some money to start a new business. His idea was, well, I'll just sell the whole note, and by selling the entire note, I'll have a lot of money. And he would, $700,000 note, you'll definitely get some decent cash out of that. Well, after talking with him and identifying what he needed, which was the $250,000, I structured it on a partial basis where we picked up 84 months where the payments for $268,000. The investor gave the seller, a local investor that we do business with, who it was actually a local investor that I've known for years, who was actually in the commercial environment. He owned 7,400 apartments, or what they call doors, in apartment business. And so he had a lot of capital. He understands commercial. This actually kind of was not too far from about 6 miles away from his personal residence. And so he liked the deal. Came in, he put up the $250K for the 84 months, and then he turned around and wrote me a check for $18,000 on the deal. Basically, wholesaled the deal to him. The seller got what he wanted. The investor got what they wanted, which was a yield return on their capital. He did that because he's selling off his apartment complexes with a lot of seller financing, primarily because he's 72 years old. He not interested in that environment like he was. He likes cash flow. Him and his wife like to travel, and so the more the cash flow they can do without all the heavy lifting is now current model. You'll find that when you work with older people, now I'm going to not trying to insult anybody, but being 51, I have I would say the majority of my friends, very close friends, are 60 to 80 years of age. Gravitated towards older people. I've always liked their mentorship. I've always liked listening to their wisdom, their insight, because they're 30 years ahead of me in this thing called life. So, and especially now that they've gotten up there in age, they have a lot of time. They love to talk. They love to share resources, and they love to see the younger generation succeed as long as you're coachable. And I've always made sure that I'm coachable in listening to what they do, but was able to bring a deal to this one investor. Here's some additional proof. We deposited the check in January, check on January 18th, 2017, and through our bank. We bank with First Bank over here, about a couple miles from our house. So the bank and all that other fun stuff. So that was our one deal on wholesaling a deal. Now, like I mentioned to you in the beginning here, 4-in-1 training. Okay, we're going to be teaching, talking, and training about how to do seller financing for commercial deals and how to find deals that fit that mold. I'm going to teach you how to buy NPNs from banks or wholesale NPNs from banks as well. About commercial wholesaling notes for quick paydays, just like this last example. Those are easy deals, and they don't require any money from anybody. It didn't cost me 1 red cent to do that deal. It didn't cost me anything to do that deal. I had a relationship with a servicing company that we've cultivated over the years. They brought it to us. We hooked it up with an investor that we knew, made 18 grand. Took about 30 days to do it, and lo and behold, we were off and running. It didn't cost me anything outside a little bit of time and a couple contracts to sign. And then part number 4 to the Commercial Note Pro is learning about the capital available to you for building your wealth. Capital side of this business is important to understand if you want to scale your business. It's something that you have to put time and energy into. You have to learn it. You have to embrace it. You have to understand it in order to learn how to apply it to your business. I can't tell you the number of times people come to me and they're like, hey, I've got this cool idea. Do you have money for it? And I'm like, well, what are you trying to do? What are you bringing to the table? What's the value? What's the risk? What's this? What's that? And they haven't thought about all of those aspects to the deal. All they see is that, hey, this is a cool idea. I mean, I'm all for excitement. I love being excited every single day, getting up and doing the business. But I also understand that when I'm engaging with capital partners, that I've got to have all my I's dotted and my T's crossed, because ultimately they'll be pleasant and they'll be professional on the phone, reputational risk and things like that. But what they won't be is they won't be calling you back, okay? They won't be calling you back because you've wasted their time. And all they do is they make a mental note of it, and they go on about their day, and they go to find a deal with somebody who's educated and understands capital structure. They understand the right questions. They understand how to present it. They understand how to work with it. And that is a huge barrier to entry in note space, is that you're typically dealing with the majority of people in the commercial note space are institutional players, whether they're sellers, whether they're buyers. That's typically who you're playing with. Occasionally, like that first deal out of Utah, we're dealing with a smaller seller, and you find those folks. They're out there. They're out there, but they're a fragment, and they're a small aspect of your picture. You know, the $11 billion that I'm talking about, that's all institutional stuff. So if you want to play that into it at a much, you've got to and bring yourself up to that level, because they're not going to come down. Okay, I'm not saying that's up or down or good or bad or lower or higher. I'm just saying it's kind of like going into high school. You know, your first year, you're a freshman, senior year, and you're at your freshman year. You've got a lot to learn from freshman to senior, and where we're getting into that aspect with the Commercial Note Pro, that's designed to help you be fully equipped with everything, even scripts. We put together full scripts for you to use when you're working with these people, the lingo, the terminology, the game plans, the analytical numbers, the software, and things of that nature that make this business work. So that's your 4-part. Week 1, module 1, we're going to show you how to find and market commercial properties on autopilot and even on a nationwide level. Week 2, we're going to get into how to find, identify, and work with commercial real estate deals nationwide that you can purchase with seller financing. Okay? There's nothing better than buying deals with seller financing because it's just between you and the seller. You guys negotiate the terms that work between the both of you. There's no banks involved. There's no extra paperwork involved. It's just you and them. And then the fact that you can do it, I'm going to teach you a strategy on how to sell it. You can actually give them a financial exit strategy to it. Most people do, which is just part 1. You can do part 1 and part 2. Those might be deals that you can bring to us, and we'd love to buy them from you. You know, we'll come in, we'll underwrite the deal, tell the seller what they're going to get, help you structure the deal so that it fits your cash flow analysis and projections, goals and objectives as well. End up with the best of both worlds from that. Week 3, we're going to do how to find and purchase NPLs from banks and at large discounts. Okay, there are banks out there. There's 7,800 banks. Okay, there's 7,800 banks in America that are selling. Not all of them are selling, but I would say on a regular basis, there's about 4,000 of them that are selling notes on a regular basis, and REOs, residential notes, and commercial notes, land notes, all kinds of different debt product. Point being is, what I hear a lot of times, people will go and they'll call a bank, person in the bank, that person will give them what I call the blow-off answer, which is, no, we don't have any. Thank you very much for calling. Have a great day. Why do they do that? They don't want to waste time with that person. They've got other projects on their desk. They've got other responsibilities in front of them. They're paid to do a particular job. They want to stay focused on that job so that they can advance rank throughout the company. If they're wasting time with people calling them who really may or may not have product, that in itself is a waste of their time. It's a waste of your time. That's the way most investors approach it. We don't approach it that way. Okay? One, because of our software, Bank Direct Connect, I know who has product and I know who doesn't have product. So I'm not going to go fishing for product where I know there's no fish. Okay? In other words, if you were fishing and you had 2 ponds to choose from, one pond didn't have any fish in it and one pond had a lot of fish in it, fishing pole. Well, common sense and logic says put your fishing pole where the fish are. That's going to increase your chances of getting the most amount of fish caught that day. If you're going over here and there's no fish, you're wasting your time and getting frustrated and irritated. And I see that happen all the time. Sometimes people call, well, I called the bank. They don't have any product. This business doesn't work. Well, what bank did you call? I called ABC Bank. Hold on a minute. I'll look it up. I'm like, yeah, they don't have any product. They don't have any product at all. So they weren't lying to me? No, they weren't lying to you. They were telling you the truth. They don't have any product. Well, what banks do? Well, you have to have the software in order to know those things. Okay? It's a tool that you have to use in your business to grow your business. I'm going to show you how to find and wholesale commercial notes to end buyers for quick lump sum paydays. It's a great strategy for people that want to earn and learn without risking any capital. If you're coming into this space and you've got very limited capital, As a matter of fact, I'll be real frank with you. If you're coming in the space and you got $10 million worth of capital, I would highly recommend you do this strategy first and foremost. Why? Because you learn the entire process from beginning to end without risking anything. Okay? You also make some money while you do it as well. It's exactly what I did in the business in the beginning. It's taught me more than I ever could read in a book, or that I learned at the first at the seminar I went to and paid $7,000 for. It taught me more than they could, and not that they were ever holding anything back, but there's one thing to read about riding a bicycle. It's another thing to go out and ride the bicycle. Two totally different experiences. It is a great, great, great place to start. Week 5, show you how to work with capital groups to find your deals. Even if you have poor credit, no money, I've assembled a list of the top 12 players in the industry that have capital for all the commercial notes and commercial properties that you could ever find. Okay, these are guys that are niche lending in this space. It's not one guy, it's not two guys, it's a dozen different players that are looking to partner up with people that find good quality deals. Now, if you're coming in here and you want to buy a 200 unit apartment complex at a 5 cap rate, probably not going to get it done unless you got capital to throw out. Okay, these guys are looking for properties that are value adds, properties that are being bought, like the one in Georgia that I showed you. Those are the kinds of things that they're looking for. You have to kind of get past that initial broker culture of people and pushing deals down everybody's throat about that whole idea of saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that. When the numbers don't match up, they don't match up. And ultimately, it's a waste of everybody's time, and that's not the kind of deals we're looking for. They're looking for, and that's not the kind of deals we're going to show you how to go find and or purchase. I threw a couple bonuses in here as well. By the way, I hope you guys are posting questions. I can't see the question and comments board. Hopefully you guys are leaving some positive comments as well. But I'm gonna, as soon as I get through this PowerPoint, I'm gonna bring that back up so we can, so I can see that as well. But the first bonus, I'm gonna show you how to use LinkedIn to find commercial deals without broker chains. There are certain LinkedIn groups that have some high quality players in it that are wasted time and money. Okay, they're just kind of broker involved. I don't hate brokers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against any group or section or classification of people. The truth is, I just value my time, value your time, and you want to be focusing where there are deals at that can make you money. That's what you want to be doing. If you're not doing that, and you're not making money, and you're not closing deals, I'm going to be the first to tell you. And then you're going to go looking out for something else. That's not necessary. That's not necessary. But that happens to so many people. They get out there and they start social media and all this other stuff, and they go in this group, hey, this sounds cool, and this guy wrote a great article, and this guy did a great video, and this person did this, and this person did that. And they get so fragmented in their idea, and they lack focus, that they look up 30, 60, 90, 120 days down the road, and they don't have any results. And so they chalk it up, well, that didn't work. Well, the way you did it didn't work. You did it didn't work. It's like I tell my boys when they play sports, some days they come home, they don't want to do anything. They don't want to work out. They don't want to do any of that stuff. And I tell them, like, if you're not going to sit here and work out forward with the team, chances are the coach is going to put you on the bench on Saturday and you're not going to play, or you're going to come out and play and you're not going to be at your top level to participate. And so you're going to have a rough day. You're going to have a rough day on the field. And they've had those things. I've let them kind of learn those lessons on their own, and they've figured it out, and they are very committed when they do sports. Point being is that happens to us even as business owners. Okay? Second bonus, updated list of over 175 commercial hedge fund managers what I call my big money relationships, to guys that are involved in commercial real estate. These are great relationships to know. And these are people you want to have in your Rolodex. These are people you want to be working with. These are people you want to be socializing with. Tons by working with people that are 10, 20, 30 years ahead of you in the industry. Okay, they're going to be able to share with you a lot of different aspects of the business, nuances, the way you should do certain things, the way you should do certain contracts. Those are great relationships to have. So we've updated that as of January 2017. And then I put together what I call a super bonus, and I'm giving everybody a copy to my Bank Direct Connect software. Okay, so you don't have to deal with the broker change. This software breaks down every quarter. The software gets updated, and you know exactly what banks have products, what banks are selling products, what banks are holding on to their products. You know exactly who's who and what's what, and you're not wasting time talking to banks and institutions that don't have what you're looking for. Okay, some banks have a lot of commercial stuff and they don't have a lot of residential stuff. Some banks have a lot of residential stuff and they don't have a lot of commercial stuff. So that's very common in the banking industry. Most people look at a bank and they say, well, they're all the same. Well, if they were all the same, they'd only have one name, like Wells Fargo or B of A. The reason there's different names on different banks is because there's different management styles and different business models that they apply to their banks. And you learn that by looking at their financial reports every quarter. You'll see what their niches are and what they go after every quarter. So I want to post this here. You can go to commercialnotepro.com/sign up, and I'm going to get to the questions here in just a second. So I wanted to share with you guys that want to be a part of this. We're going to be closing this out on Wednesday, February 8th. We're going to close it out so that you know, those that are in are in. We're going to work with those folks. We're going to get help them to get deals under their belt and profile them as success studies within our business. We're doing a lot of that here in 2017. I never have really asked for those kinds of stories because I always thought it was kind of, for lack of better words, prostituting the student. But what I've learned is in asking students or talking to students, they want to talk about their success stories. They want to share those stories, and I've never really bothered to ask them to do it. So it's really been kind of an eye opener here in January and going into February. The number of people that have achieved success, and we've known various bits and pieces. People tell us this, people tell us that. They send us an email, but never really reached out to them to ask them if they'd like to share their success stories with other people. And lo and behold, they're pretty exciting aspect as a whole. So we're going to be bringing that to the forefront as well. And we're going to be featuring our Commercial Note Pro students as well going forward. Now, right now, wow, we did that great. Let me bring this up. Now we've got a lot of questions here. Let's see here. I'm going to start with the oldest questions first. Can we buy directly from you? I guess you could. We don't sell a lot of commercial notes as a whole. We don't sell a lot of them. But some of our other classes in residential training, we do offer notes to students in those classes like REO Sniper and things of that nature. So I'm not sure what that question refers to, but you can sell directly to us as a whole. We've never sold a commercial note to a student. I'll be honest with you there. So kind of what that is, but let's see here. do this thing back. What to do? There we go. That do it? A little bit easier screen. But Pamela, if you want to expand upon that, I'll certainly come back to that question. I love your heart. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Replay this webinar. I must catch a flight and will not be able to watch. We'll obviously post this up for a replay because I know that there was almost 200 people that signed up for it, and there's less than that on the call. So we'll make sure that we'll repost this for everybody. With your training, instead of buying commercial notes, can I buy physical commercial real estate such as apartment buildings or mobile home parks? Yeah, absolutely. The capital people that we're working with, they fund those types of things as well. They also fund the note side of the business, and so they do have, they're not necessarily just one-dimensional, but they've added the financing for commercial notes also. So we'll be putting that in there. But yeah, you can certainly reach out if you want to buy apartment buildings, mobile home parks. That's certainly part of it as well. And we'll touch on that. Won't spend a lot of time touching on that because I'm a note guy, I'm a paper guy, but it's not hard to do. It's not hard to do. Okay. Am I the only one on the training? Okay. Will your course training session be conducted online? Yes. The entire training is going to be an online training. All the materials and resources you'll be able to download, the webinars, the videos, all that kind of fun stuff. You'll be able to have those things you'll be able to download those onto your computer, and you'll have those at your fingertips going forward. Please explain triple net lease. A triple net lease is simply explained by the property owner, or not, me being the property owner, like on the case in point, the Utah deal. Once we signed a triple net lease was after we had fixed up the entire property. Now that there's a triple net lease in place, the tenant is now responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the interior building and the exterior building portion that applies to his percentage of square footage. So if we come in there and we repave the parking lot, he's responsible for paying that. Now, I may do it and get reimbursed from him, but he'll be paying me back. That's what a triple net lease is. You see that a lot on big box retailers and things of that nature, where they have to be responsible for the exterior paint, they have to be responsible for exterior signage, paving, landscaping, sprinkler repairs, anything of that nature. So any expenses that come across that are associated with that property based on that person's square footage. Now, case being is that particular property, because we only own a certain percentage of that building, there's an HOA aspect or communal aspect on that. He's responsible for paying that HOA fee. And then if they were to ever come in and the association were to, pave the parking lot or re-landscape it or put in seasonal flowers or anything of those natures, he then picks up those costs going forward. Okay. I think we answered that question already. Blake helped answer that as well. Thank you, Blake, on the triple net lease. Is there much business to be had in finding properties to refinance to allow existing owners to take out equity? Is there much business to be had in finding properties to refinance to allow existing owners to take out property? I mean, it sounds like you want to be a commercial lender on the property or do commercial lending, and you can certainly do that. Go get a commercial license, or you don't need a commercial lender's license. There's a lot of commercial lenders out there that are looking for commercial lending brokers. That's kind of what I think that model would probably be best suited for, Todd. I think the question you're asking is in line with that over finding people. I mean, you want to be a commercial loan officer is what it looks like. But there are companies out there that are always looking for new commercial loan officers. You can reach out to them, and you can actually kind of come in under their umbrella, their marketing efforts, and everything else, and then ultimately you'd be compensated from it. Time conflicts. How can those who have time conflicts with the times, calls, webinars, teaching sessions are given? Okay. Well, I can't do anything with your schedule, but what we do to accommodate those things is all of our trainings are recorded. So we're going to do our trainings, we're going to do the teachings, all that stuff, and we're going to record them. And whoever shows up based on those time slots, we're gonna teach those people. That it'll be saved, it'll be recorded, it'll be hosted on a student website that you will have access to once you sign up, and you can come and listen to the trainings as many times as you want. So you can come and listen to it at your time, at your convenience of time, and then you can listen to it as many times as you want. And then there's going to be a question box below it, so you can ask questions as well. We'll be coming in and answering those questions, and then we'll be hosting some live Q&A calls. No matter what time I pick, I've learned in 15 years of teaching, no matter what time I pick, there's always going to be somebody that it's not convenient with. And I respect that, and I understand that. So we've put checks and balances in place to accommodate those things for those people, or for people that have pre-existing commitments. And we want to respect other people's commitments as well. Covered that. Will all the module trainings be on Thursdays? All the module trainings will be on Wednesdays. Okay, on Wednesdays. They'll be coming out on Wednesdays. All right. What's your average net profit on commercial non-performing note versus commercial performing note? I don't know. I've never sat down to figure that out, Jim. I would say on commercial performing notes, it's definitely 5 figures range, and same thing with non-performing notes. If you're just talking a single note transaction, you're talking 2 to 6%, whether it's commercial performing or commercial non-performing. Now, if you're doing a large portfolio, say you're doing a $25 million commercial portfolio of notes, you're going to end up being in the what we call 25 basis points, which is basically 0.25%, up to maybe 2 points, depending upon the buyer and his or her tolerance for commission, as well as how good of a deal they really getting on it. Are they having to pay a premium, and then you're sneaking in there for a point or two, or trying to sneak in there for a point or two, and they're at the top of their matrix? Or are they buying it, a case in point, the hotel deal that I was talking about out of Chicago? It was brought to us as a $107 million hotel that we could pick up for $60 million. We didn't have any problem getting several points on that deal because there was $40+ million in profit on the deal. So we didn't have any problem. But we later also found out that $107 million figure that they gave us in the beginning was a after repaired value. So you gotta kind of kick that out and do an as is value. What is it worth today? Because whoever buys it, they're the one that's going to want to realize that after repaired value side of the business. So, but that's kind of a rule of thumb. You're talking 2 to 6% on single asset trades, most likely less than 2% on large portfolio trades. Okay, hopefully that kind of gives you a good insight. Are there certain types of commercial properties that your lenders prefer? Yes, ones that cash flow. Okay, there's got to be some kind of cash flow aspect to it. They're not really looking to land on somebody that You can buy a non-performing note on a piece of land. That's not necessarily anything they're going to go for. Why? There's no cash flow from the piece of land. So the minute they put that loan in place, they want to make sure that you're going to be able to pay that loan back. Like the one I did in Georgia. Although the bank was looking at it as a non-performing loan, I wasn't looking at it that way. Neither were they, because it hadn't matured yet. And it was really easy to step in and say, okay, Mr. Property Owner, let's extend this loan out. Let's remove the balloon. You just keep making your payments status quo, and we're going to go out another 15 years. Are you okay with that? Yes, we are. Great. Boom. Instant cash flow on the deal. So those are the kinds of things that they like. They also not big into oil and gas type things, meaning gas stations, car washes, not hot buttons. They're not hot on churches, things like that. You're talking retail shopping malls, office buildings, medical buildings, apartment complexes, small, well, kind of like the Georgia deal, what I call it, small kind of communal office space. Those are the kinds of things that they like to see. They're also not really big into huge shopping malls. In other words, you come to the table and you're trying to, hit a home run, and you want to borrow $60 million, like case in point, the property in Illinois. That's not something I could go and borrow money on. The simple truth is, and I know that, so we immediately lined it up with an investor out of Asia who we work with, who just wrapped up buying the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York. So we said, here's a deal under the table. Here's where it's at. And he was ready to write the check for the 60+ million to do the deal. We didn't take that to a lender. One, I didn't want to own it because I don't like hospitality as a whole, but I was willing to do it because it was very, they say, vanilla. I saw this question but didn't hear the answer. Those who have purchased the commercial program in times past, will there be any discounted provisions be made? No. There's no provisions. If you bought one of our other trainings, you've got the value out of that training. Hopefully you've applied it. You've gotten the tools and resources that were about that training. This is a completely new training, and no, there's no discounted or grandfathered aspect to it. Give us the conditions besides late payments, which can a commercial loan or count, I guess, a commercial loan non-performing. Well, there's a couple of things that can be constitute non-performing. Obviously, the most common is non-payment. Okay, and that's typically monitored as 90 days or greater. Now, the banking industry is 30 days, but typically they'll kind of play that window of opportunity to get caught back up. But once it goes 90 days, then it is a non-performing loan. Other things that can be classified or presented as non-performing, and it's not really non-performing, it's default. It would shift to what we call a default, would be non-payment of property taxes, non-payment of HOA, and non-payment of insurance as well. So those are what would classify it as default. But your primary thing that causes a loan to be non-performing is no payment received. All right, we'll take a couple more and then we'll wrap this up. I want to try to keep it under an hour. We're over that already, but do commercial lenders consider the borrower's FICO, or is it the deal based solely on the property? As I mentioned in the earlier, it's solely based on the property. Now they will pull your credit to see who you are and see kind of what your financial status is. So they want to know who they're doing business with, but that's not the basis of consideration. What they're looking for is they're looking for people that are finding deals that they can purchase or they can lend on that their investment to value is 70% or less on an as-is condition. And they're allowing you to go in there, and if you want to go in there and remodel the property or upgrade it or change out tenants, maybe there's tenants in there that aren't paying market rents, things like that, and they allow you to keep the value add in the deal. And ultimately, if you want to sell the property down the road, you can do that as well, or sell the note down the road. There's two different strategies there. One, if you're buying a note, obviously you can't sell the property, you can sell the note. If you're buying just the property, obviously you can do value add and sell the property down the road. All right. How long does it typically take to get a deal done from start to finish? I've done deals in 3 days, and I'm wrapping up a deal that's taken 2 years. So typically, most deals are done within 30 to 60 days in the commercial environment. Some I've seen go out to 90 days based on the size of the deal. The smaller deals that I'm talking about and what this training is going to be focusing on are deals that are $3 million and less. Why is it that I'm focusing in on that? One is I want to help people close deals. And if you've never closed $1 million deal before, then I've got to start showing you how to do deals that are a couple $100,000 that you can go in, you can pick up some equity, you can pick up some cash flow, and you can learn the whole process. With that, you can scale it to as big as you choose to scale it, because the tools and the resources and the funding and the capital will be there for you at the end of the day. So those are the things that are up to you. My job is to make sure that you have the foundation under you and the groundwork under you so that you can build accordingly. Whether you want to build a 10-story building or you want to build the Empire State Building, it's up to you. But typically you're talking 30 to 60 days. But like I said, I've done deals in 3 days, and I'm wrapping up a deal that took 2 years to do. Kind of amazing, but they happen. Who do you recommend for business lines of credit? That's a tough answer. That's a tough question because there's a number of people out there. If you email me, I'll send you what I know. From my conversations with local and community banks, I'm finding that they do have NPNs, but they're still demanding 60 to 80% of UPB. Will you teach where to find banks that will sell at reasonable discounts, or are we in the seller's market with limited opportunities and investors? Here's the thing. When you say 60 to 80% of UPB, what is that based off of? If they're asking 60 to 80% of UPB, is the property worth, is there 20, 30% equity in the property, or is the property underwater? Because depending upon, if there's equity in the property, maybe it's a $400,000 note, and they want 60% of that $400,000 note, or let's say 70%. But is the property worth $500,000? Is the property worth $600,000? The example that I showed here in Georgia, the reason they sold it at such a huge discount was because the property was underwater. The property is underwater. Now, the risk I take on that is that the borrower walks from the deal. That they say, okay, wait a minute, I'm underwater here. I'm not paying any more payments. But the bank gave me a fire sale valuation on the property. The actual, say, 60 to 90 day valuation on that property was $120,000 more. Okay, so when you sell anything quickly, it's going to be at a huge discount. So when you say a bank is demanding 60 to 80%, that might be reasonable, given that there's equity in the deal. But what I've also learned in working with banks is you have to educate them. In other words, you have to do your homework. You have to go out and do your valuations. You have to go out and do your research to be able to come to the table and speak intelligently. On the Georgia deal, I didn't have to go do that. They just gave it to me. It's like they gave me a smoking gun on a silver platter. I'm like, 400 grand? How much you want? Great, we can do the deal. Because it was easy to do. Now, if they didn't have that, or they weren't willing to expose that, then I got to go get the valuation and bring it to the table and say, look, this thing's only worth 400 grand. Oh, you figured that out? Yes, I figured that out. Okay? So I'm reading the questions and I should be looking at the camera. But so Are there deals out there? Yeah, I mean, there's deals out there, but don't be pushed back because they're saying 60 to 80%. People bring deals to me all the time. They say, well, we want 70 cents on the dollar. And then I get the seller on the phone and I start breaking it down saying, well, it's only worth this, and it's only worth this, and this, and this, and this. You got back taxes equal to this. Why would it be worth 70? Well, I was just hoping you would pay it. Well, my kids are hoping I feed them ice cream every morning too, but I ain't doing that either. So here's the reality. Okay, you're right. And you have to speak that truth into them. That's where that realism aspect of my personality comes in so strongly with these people, because it's just, this is what it is. It just is what it is. Do you need phase one environmental report done before the deal closes? On some deals, yeah, you need to do those things. It varies from deal to deal. Do you consider small apartments 5+ units as commercial? Yes. Small apartment complexes, 5+ units are technically commercial properties. Some people still look at them as residential, but technically, by industry standard, nationwide industry standards, it's commercial. All right, let's see what you. Banks in South Florida are greedy. Okay, and they may be. I mean, if you're in a hot area, and the properties are in hot areas, then yeah, I mean, the banks in themselves might be less willing to sell. The other thing is how much trouble is the bank in, and are they being pressured to sell? Okay, one of the things about identifying what banks need to sell is based on their fiscal year-end reports. So as they kind of come down to the end of their 12-month fiscal year, they're much more motivated to sell product because they got to clean up those reports for their shareholders and everybody else. If you're, say, maybe they just finished their fiscal year, maybe their fiscal year was December 31st. And by the way, every bank's fiscal year is different. Okay, it's always different. You have to figure that out. If they're December 31st, then yeah, they're selling stuff left and right through the month of November and December. So they got to clean that stuff up. But let's say, in January, February, they're like, I'm not selling anything. Okay, because there's no motivation to. They don't need to. But come the end of this year again, they're going to be back on that train again, trying to liquidate stuff. Now, does that mean that they won't do things throughout the year? Yes, they'll do things throughout the year. But you're not going to know that unless you have a relationship with them on a regular basis, okay? On a regular basis, okay? What type of commercial notes should beginners stay clear of? Ones that don't cash flow. Don't get starry-eyed. I mean, I get guys in here and they're like, I'm buying this 600-unit apartment complex and it's rated a D and it's got gunfire and armored cars in front of it every night. And I'm going to come in there and I'm going to buy it and I'm going to rehab it and turn it into a Class A. No, you're not. No, you're not. I mean, I only say that because I remember being in Houston, Texas, and I was looking at this apartment complex, and I had that same mindset. Gosh, I wish I had those pictures. And it looked like Baghdad, okay? It looked terrible, and it was nasty. And I remember taking my mom and my grandmother flew into town. I'm like, hey, come and look at this apartment complex. It's 64 units, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And I took them out there, and they're like, Troy, can we leave? They wouldn't even get out of the car. I'm like, come on. I'm like, no. Of course, I'm a big guy, so I don't really fear a lot of things. But they're like, can we go quickly? And like 5 miles leading up to it, they're like, where are we going? Are you sure we're going the right way? How long are we going to be here? Do we really need to see this? Can you just send us pictures? They were like asking those kind of questions, going to it. That's the kind of stuff you're not going to waste time on. This is about finding properties that are undervalued, that have a cash flow associated with it, and that you can ultimately create one, income for yourself, but you can bring value to the property, whether that's increased rents, whether that's cosmetic repairs, things of that nature. That's what the opportunity is if you want to be a buy hold investor. If you want to wholesale deals, it's about just identifying the deals and then bring them to the buyers. Okay, bring them to the buyer, which is a great way to get started in the business if you have limited capital. And it's a great way to get started even if you have a ton of capital, so that you learn to learn and earn at the same time. The link to purchase is you have to write this down. I don't know if we put it in the pop-up there, but it's www.commercialnotepro.com/sign-up/. Okay, commercialnotepro.com/sign-up/. Or you can go back to the emails that you got on Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, you can go back to one of those older emails, click on the link. It takes you directly to the site to see the sign-up page. That might be easier if you're not where you can write something down. But www.commercialnotepro.com/sign-up/. Okay. Price on the training is $12.97, and it includes the Bank Direct Connect, which is an $897 bonus. So that's what the price is right now. We'll be raising the price the closer we get to Wednesday to wrap things up, because we want to reward the people that jump on early in the process. Okay. Covered that. Is there a software that helps you analyze this commercial opportunities that you offer? The software that we're going to be giving that out in class, I haven't featured it in any of the videos and stuff like that. It's a very extensive software that gets into your cash flows, your analysis, the creature ROIs, your yields, your caps, all that kind of fun stuff, both for notes and the physical property. So I'm going to teach you every aspect there is. You pick what tools you need to use to grow your business based on your passion, your desire, and the direction you want to go. Okay. The reason I say that is there's some young guns on this call and some young guns that are listening to this that love the brick and mortar, fix and flip, all that stuff. Hey, I love the same stuff too when I was in my 20s. I enjoyed it when I was in my 30s. Started getting away from it when I was in my 40s. I'm not going to touch it when I'm in my 50s. Get it? I'm not doing that. That's the same thing that happened with the gentleman out of Utah. When he was younger, he was doing all that kind of stuff, and that helped him grow his business. But as he got older, less and less, he didn't want to do that stuff anymore. And I think that's just kind of the evolution of the investor, is what I call it as a whole. So we're going to show both sides of that coin. What is the total price for the course? It's $12.97, and no, there's not any upsells. You get all your training, all of the tools, resources, and stuff that you need to succeed. I'm going to be the first to tell you. Okay, I'm going to be the first to tell you. You have to add water. Okay, meaning you have to add effort to make it work. This is not. I don't do get rich quick. I've never been the get rich quick guy. I've never figured out how to get rich quick. So I don't know how to talk get rich quick. All I know is I'll give you the tools and resources, and you got to add water to make it work for you. And if you're willing to do that, you'll achieve whatever it is you're looking to achieve. There's no guarantee that you're going to do it in 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, or 6 months, or 6 years even. But it's all based on you. Okay? That's just how I roll around here. That's how I roll with my boys. You know, their grades are their grades. If they got poor grades, that's their fault, not mine. My job's to help them study, to do those things. But if they blow it up on the test and they're not focused and they didn't, do what they needed to do, I love them. I care about them. We'll reset for another test and we'll move on. But they know that that's their deal. That's theirs. So I just like being clear about that, because I know there's a lot of other people that do those kinds of things, and it just doesn't sit well with me. Does this program include a website? No, it does not include a website, but I'm more than happy to introduce you to our web designer who can build you a great website for less than $400. Okay. Matter of fact, she built our Pinnacle Investment website. She's currently working on our Thriving Investor website, and does amazing stuff for a very small investment, and she's very fast. I think it's like 72 hours and you're up and running. But that's yours. And that's not really an upsell, but that may be a tool if you want it. It's there. Are these going to be live with real-time Q&A? Some of them will, and some of them will not be. Okay, so it's going to vary from training or from week to week, but there'll be both. The live Q&A will always be below the webinar, and you can get your questions answered, and we'll be coming in there and doing that on a regular basis. Have you purchased notes on properties that are no longer attracting businesses at that location? How do you repurpose those properties? I don't necessarily purchase notes on those types of deals, and here's why. Because we do business on a nationwide basis, I don't want to buy a property in Ohio that I have to foreclose upon, then I have to remodel and fix up and reposition. That's me personally. Now, if you're in Ohio and you find something like that, then that might be a great asset for you to acquire, and you go in there and do that because you enjoy doing those things. I don't enjoy doing those things anymore. I've done all those things for years. I've built golf courses and commercial buildings and custom houses. I've done all those things. I don't do that stuff anymore. But if you want to do those things, you can certainly do that, acquire the property, fix it, reposition it, and then put it back up for lease or for sale, whatever works for you. Have you purchased notes on properties that no longer, okay, covered that one, great. I'm going to be moving to an island of Kauai. Okay, obviously many small commercial deals. I can do deals outside of there, but do you have capital lenders that will lend in such a small niche market? Kauai, well, it's the U.S., it's Hawaii. They're going to be looking at, the overall deal in itself. Kauai is not necessarily a small niche market. It's part of the Hawaiian Islands. But at the end of the day, it depends on the property. So if you're looking just to buy in your local area, then as long as the deal makes financial sense, they'll lend. If it doesn't make financial sense, then it won't. And what makes financial sense? The purchase price versus the cash flow versus the capital cost versus what the upside potential is on that property. That's how they look at it day in and day out. So they'll lend. They'll lend. I've seen them lend in small markets like Casa Grande and stuff like that. Probably the same size. I don't know the size of Kauai, but Casa Grande's a small market about 60 miles south of Phoenix. So, and keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting out with a small list of 12 lenders, but that doesn't mean that list won't grow. Remember, we want to continue to see it grow, and we're going to continue to find those people out there. So to kind of put things in boxes, don't box yourself in as a whole. Me personally, even if I was living in Hawaii, I'd still be looking for deals in the mainland as well, because you may get to Hawaii and there may, the price of property may not make any sense. Like, to me, buying commercial property in New York doesn't make any sense. I haven't seen a lot of commercial deals that make sense. I've seen a couple, but I see a lot more that do not make sense. Not because New York's a bad space, but because those guys are operating in like 3 and 4 and 5 cap rates. And to me, that's not enough of a return for me to invest my effort into it when I can go to a different marketplace and find something that's maybe got a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cap rate. Okay, so it's all about where you want to invest your time and the kind of returns, because time is all you have and I have, and how you spend your time and how I spend my time is going to create different results for both of us at the end of the day. If you look at wealthy people, they've just spent their time wisely. Okay, if you look at a poor person, they've spent their time poorly. Okay, just kind of the way it is. It's not. I've seen time and time again. I've seen a lot of wealthy people that really aren't that smart, but the way that they use their time and their resources manifested some huge, huge opportunities. Will there be ongoing support from the office staff, including you personally, after all the module trainings? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by ongoing support, but through the training, we'll be answering questions and supporting our students just like we always do. If you have a deal you want me to look at afterwards, we'll certainly review that with our students. We always have. We've always maintained that level of integrity with our trainings. But if you want to call and talk to me about the Super Bowl because you got nothing better to do, don't waste your time because I'm not going to pick up the phone. Not bottom line is I'm too focused. I got other things going on. But if you want to talk about a deal, then we'll talk about a deal. Are we considered a dealer while flipping commercial notes in the eyes of the IRS? No, you're not. Are there any upfront costs such as unpaid property taxes that have to be paid before escrow closes on the deal? Every deal is different. Every deal is different. You know, like case in point, the non-performing note that I bought out of Georgia, all the property taxes were current. It was owned by a bank. The bank maintained it. You'll usually find that when a bank maintains the loan, you're buying it from the bank, that it's usually a pretty clean deal. Okay, you may have some current taxes owed for the current calendar year, but those are actually the responsibility of the recipient or the tenant on the property, or the not the tenant but the payor on the property, which is obviously billed to the tenant. Okay. All right, 3 more questions. I got to wrap this thing up. I'm in Alaska. Do I think I will find NPNs? In Alaska, I've only done 1 note deal in Alaska in 20 years. I'm sure they're up there. I don't know that marketplace very well, but just because you're in Alaska doesn't mean you can't do work in the other 48 states. And that's where I would be focused on, just because Alaska, my experience, I've never personally been there, is that it's very limited community wise. I mean, I know Anchorage is a big town. I know there's some big corporations and all that other stuff up there, but I would not be spending the majority of my time focusing on there. I know there are other students on this call that are from Canada, Australia, things like that. They're operating in the lower 48. That's where their focus is, because that's where the majority of the opportunity lies. Now, does that mean you won't find a deal in Alaska? Yeah, I'm sure you'll find one, but I don't know if I would spend my time and energy looking for one. I would just let people know what I'm doing, and if one comes to me, then I would take it from there. Okay. Does commercial appraisals have to be done before escrow closes? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You want that for your benefit as well as them. Do judicial and non-judicial states play a part in commercial investing? When it comes down to the foreclosure process, yeah, I mean, you still have to follow the state laws in the foreclosure process of the note, but obviously it changes from state to state. And if it's a non-judicial state, then it's much easier. If it's judicial, then it takes more time as a whole. Okay. I found that the best thing to do in foreclosing on commercial properties is to get a deed in lieu, or to sit down with the property owner and figure out what's going on. Usually, property owners, commercial investors are much more savvy than residential homeowners when it comes financially speaking, because they're running a business. They have an entrepreneurial mindset versus a homeowner being a homeowner. And usually they have a reason why they kind of fell behind, and usually it's pretty easy to address it at the end of the day. So you don't typically have the foreclosure levels and rates in commercial properties that you do in residential properties. Will the lenders loan greater than 70% investment to value? No. No, they won't. Is this program for us to do deals all independently, or for you to partner on the deals? Here's the thing: you can do deals independently, and you can take them out, and I'm going to give you who the buyers will be, and you can take them directly to them. I'm a buyer as well. I'll buy deals from students on a regular basis and pay them just like Example number 3 is, and you'll receive a commission. Do I JV on deals? No. I don't put up capital so that you can go and leverage our capital. Our capital is for us. We use it internally for the things that we do. But meaning partner, I'm not really sure what you mean by partner. But no, we don't partner with students. Here's why we don't partner with students. It's not because we don't want our students to succeed. It's because our capital doesn't allow us to go out and partner with students. In other words, because we pull down from bank lines of credit, and we've got capital reserves with a small fund that we run and stuff like that, we have very strict guidelines on how we can use that capital. And I can't go over here and take it from here and give it to you, and you go down the road and make a bunch of money, and all of a sudden I've got to explain it to my bank, which would result in me being cut off from my lines of credit and my small fund that I run, friends and family type fund that I run. I have to explain to them, which would put me into a legal predicament that I don't want to be in. So that's why we don't do those things. Instead, we take it a step further and we show you guys how to do it on your own. Okay, if you want to do it on your own, and we can run alongside of you and cheer you on and high five you and praise you for the great things that you're doing, then we feel that that's a greater value to you, because you don't need us. Okay, you don't need us at all. You can run and run as far and as long as you want to. If you need our help in doing a deal or finding somebody to buy a deal or something along those lines, then yeah, we're absolutely here, and we may partner up on that and share in a broker fee, maybe for you and for us. We'll split something, but that's really the boundaries in which we play in at the end of the day. Okay, I'd be interested in the website. Great, not a problem. When will you be starting the 5-week training? I need to put a few more dollars together. Thanks, I didn't know. I didn't want to miss this out. We're going to be starting next Wednesday, the 8th, February 8th. Okay. If you're limited on capital, we do have a 2-pay option. It's $12.97 for a full pay. I think it's $14.97 for a 2-pay, but it gets you in the training, gets you your position, and helps you to start building your business while you're coming up with part 2 on the payment. Are note leads provided as part of the program? You say note leads, I'm not really sure what you're talking about there, but we do show you where the notes are at. I mean, obviously banks, I guess technically yes, because the leads are inside of the Bank Direct Connect based on the banks that have products as a whole. For part-timers, what would be realistic time commitment to make this business work? Personally, the more you can put into it, obviously the bigger the results are going to be for you. But I would at least set aside at least 10 hours a week, 5 to 10 hours of focused energy, not 10 hours coming and hanging out in front of a computer and researching and things like that. I'm talking about making phone calls, talking to sellers, talking to buyers, building your business, focused energy in that space. If you can do that, you'll accelerate your success very quickly. If you're not focused and you're kind of lollygagging and what do I need to do here and what do I need to do there, and you're wasting a lot of time, then it could be 20, 30 hours. Me personally, I work in our office here in 2017. I bumped it up. I'm working about 20, 25 hours a week. In 2016, I was running at about 10 to 15 hours a week. I've got some goals I want to hit in 2017. I like the direction of the economy. I like the opportunities that are coming across our desk. And so I want to scoop them up and go after it. But I also use a very focused approach in what I do every day I'm in the office. When I say I'm working, 20 hours, my 20 hours is usually consistent to most people's 60 to 70 hours in what I'm able to accomplish. Can I work a full-time job and work this business? You can work it in the weekends and after hours and stuff like that. You will need to be able to take calls and talk to the lenders and stuff like that during normal business hours. So you're going to have to be able to set that time aside to make yourself available. Keep in mind, lenders and bankers work 9 to 5. Those are their hours. Okay, so you gotta figure out how that works into your schedule as well to capitalize on those opportunities. Can you provide the contact for building a commercial website? If you inside the training, we'll be doing that. Okay, shoot me an email. I'll send you who that is. I don't have it right here in front of me. There's a link and all that fun stuff. But shoot me an email and we'll send it over to you. Okay. I think that's it. I think we covered a lot of questions, a lot more than I thought I was going to. All right. So, hi, I'm in Arizona. I'd love to have you as a commercial note mentor. What's your best contact email? If you guys want to shoot questions, shoot them over to support@pinnacle-investments.com. That's support@pinnacle-investments.com, and we'll be more than happy to do our best to support you. Okay. Once again, you can sign up at www.commercialnotepro.com/sign-up/. Okay. www.commercialnotepro.com/sign-up/. Okay. So cost of the investment in the training is $12.97. It's a 5-day training or 5-week training. Sorry, 5-week training. Starts on February 8th. My goodness gracious. Let's say February 28th. It's February 8th, which is approximately 5 days away. So you want to take advantage. You want to get your spot. $12.97, and that includes the Bank Direct Connect software for you to use and have lifetime access to that. So once you buy it, you got it. Okay. Once again, www.commercialnotepro.com/sign-up. I want to thank everybody for spending time with me today and getting your questions answered. A lot of great questions you guys sent over. Appreciate that hands down. Love it when people participate because it just makes it better for everybody involved. And that was the goal of today. So using our time wisely. With that being said, I hope you guys have a great week, a great weekend, actually, a great weekend. I don't know if you're going to watch the Super Bowl, but it's the one NFL game a year I watch. So I'll be hanging out watching that. Taking my boys tonight to go play Top Golf. My mother-in-law seems to think that she can beat me at Top Golf all of a sudden. I've been getting challenging text messages for the last 10 days. So I'm going to take my mother-in-law out to Top Golf, and I haven't decided if I'm going to let her win or not yet. So we'll see where that goes. But that being said, have a great week. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. Take care. God bless. Bye now.